please put it in the message and I'll be reviewing these. Okay, Robert, everything is yours.
Fantastic. Woohoo! Technology problem solved. That's what it's an open source meeting, so open source solutions.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I assume most people are here on the East Coast. For those that aren't, good morning and evening. My name is Robert Jacobi, and I am the president of Joomla, technically Open Source Matters, which is the holding company and legal entity for the Joomla project. We'll go over a few things today about what is Joomla, who is Joomla, and of course, the journey to 4.0 and what that means. We'll start with some basics. I know we have some super Joomla people online and some super technical people online. So I guess the techies will need to actually learn a little bit more about what Joomla is. And Joomla is a totally community-driven project where all people volunteer with their expertise, time, efforts, and everything for free. No one is actually paid or compensated in any way, shape, or form in the community. And so you get some very passionate people who really want to spend their time and develop Joomla. It's also an award-winning content management system. We have a goal of ease of use and extensibility, flexibility, whichever word you like best, and it's one of the most popular website, open source content management systems available. We've been around for, oh my goodness, 12 years already. And it's an open source solution that is available to everyone. Right now, we're in Joomla 3.8 land, so we're very excited for what we have today in Joomla 3.8 and how that's creating the building blocks for Joomla 4.0. So some of the key features in Joomla 3.8 are an updated router, getting what we have forward to Joomla 4. It's the availability of Joomla 4 APIs for developers to start testing and playing with, and a number of other features. It has a well-established code base, and we have a great development team with increasing year-over-year commits. So it's a project that is moving forward and getting a lot of developer traction. Some of the basics, obviously it's mostly written in PHP. There's JavaScript and CSS as well to make things work, and SQL for the database access. My favorite part here is Joomla numbers. You get to get bombarded by a bunch of statistics, but I find them very entertaining. Joomla has had over 29,000 commits made by almost 800 contributors and representing 370,000 plus lines of code. This is an immense project and has had an immense amount of work done over the course of 12 years. And it makes our developers tired. So this is an actual picture of a developer that's passed out at J and Beyond this year in Poland. Joomla is used by 6.8% of all the websites whose content management system we know. This is statistics from w3text.com, which puts us at about 3.3% of all websites on the internet. We think that's just an amazing statistic, and really the only other platform that exceeds us is WordPress, which has a very dominating presence on the web. But Joomla is a number 2. Most people actually don't know that, especially in the United States. So that's a great fact to have in your arsenal to talk to people about Joomla with. So it's a lot of Joomla sites being downloaded and added every day. So 300 plus Joomla websites added every day. Joomla version statistics, which are very interesting. These are a few weeks old, but we still see that about 20% of Joomla's on 1.x, which for developers who are independent and whatnot, there's a huge opportunity to find those sites and get them to start migrating up to the latest version of Joomla. Even Joomla 2.x is at about a quarter of complete Joomla usage. Joomla 3.x adoption is going very well, so we're very happy with that. but there's no excuse for those ones and twos anymore. So we like to encourage as many developers and agencies and integrators to get onto that. We've had over 85 million downloads from Joomla.org. That number is actually low, since we know that from across the internet we've had tens of millions more from web hosting companies, shared hosting, managed hosting companies. So Russia alone has about 10 million downloads. So that's just from the core of Joomla.org, from our downloads page. So that's an immense amount of downloads of Joomla. And again, another fun, 2 to 3 seconds, there's another download from Joomla.org. We have almost 8,000 extensions at Joomla, extensions.joomla.org. I think some of our extension developers are online as well, so please feel free to look at extensions.joomla.org to find ways to improve and increase the power of your Joomla website. The core languages have been translated into 68 languages, and that's one of the most important features for Joomla, our multilingual capability. So we're very happy about how foreign language adoption has taken over. We have almost 700,000 forum members, so there are plenty of people to bounce ideas and questions off of in our forums. If you can't answer it, I guarantee you someone else can, and that question's probably been asked 10 times already. For those questions that can't be answered, maybe you know the answer. So check out the forums when you get a chance. It's a very robust community. We'll dive into some of the Joomla CMS right now. And currently we're at Joomla 3.8, so 3.x series. Joomla 3 series will end at 3.9 before we hit Joomla 4. The X series will be maintained, or 3.x series will be maintained for 18 months from the last version released. So if there's a 3.9 that comes out in 2 months, that release will be maintained for 18 months ahead of going forward. So you could see Joomla 3.9 being maintained all the way through June of 2019 at that point. So we do have a promise that our most recent release will be maintained for a minimum of 18 months. Which is great, because at some point next year we're going to dive into Joomla4. And I'm sure, or hopefully there'll be, Laura's collecting many questions about Joomla4. But I'm going to dive in and just go straight into the most recent developer build. And after logging in, which the login screen looks pretty typical and similar, we have our new admin. So again, this is very developer centric. At no point should you download this to build any sites with, but it is what's in progress right now, and you can see we're very far along with a lot of features and functionality. I glossed over a couple issues, which I'll take care of now. One of the really most important things about Joomla 4 is that it will only be able to run on PHP 7. So we've taken sort of an aggressive approach at making sure that the next version of Joomla is future-facing all the way through. Supporting legacy PHP is very difficult, and by the time Joomla 4 gets released, and again we're shooting for approximately 1 year, that more and more versions of PHP will become completely obsolete. So not only do we get a lot of performance improvements, security improvements, we also get a lot of very deep technical PHP API functionality out of the mix. So it really helps propel Joomla into the future. Additionally, there will be a migration path. It will be not exactly one click as we're used to in the Joomla 3.x world. So going from 3.7 to 3.71 to 3.8 is relatively painless. So it'll be just we're hoping it's a little less painful than when jumping from 1.5 to 3. Obviously, if you have custom templates, you'll need to adjust them for some of the new structures and
Keep going.
Sorry, just just heard some recording noises there.
Yeah. No,
but there will be a very solid migration path to facilitate moving from 3.x to 4.0. So again, back to the control panel. This is our sort of new optimized control panel where we're trying to put the key features, new articles, media, right in front of you. It's actually a highly responsive back-end template, so you can see it's very flexible, what's visible and able to be managed. One of the big new features will be the Media Manager. So let's jump to that. And here we can see the new Media Manager interface. That there's drag and drop is one of the cool, fun features that you can do directly into this interface. Again, we're all trying to find a nice, cleaner look and more features and functionality. There's inline image editing, which isn't completely functional, but in progress. Things like the new more useful information button, so you can jump in and click that open, jump around between files and folders to see what you have. You can rename, delete, and crop and edit any image content in the media folder. So we're working very hard on making sure that Media Manager is one of the most robust new aspects, most useful and efficient pieces of code in Joomla4. It's one of the biggest things that people have been requesting for years is an update to the Media Manager. We can jump to users here and see that, pretty straightforward. We have users, groups, fields, things like that. So pretty straightforward. So nothing here should really shock you as to, oh my goodness, how do I use Joomla? But it's trying to clean up and make the entire administrator experience on the back end much easier. Here's the menu area. So we can see this is a listing of all menu items, which in the example demo site I was running, it only has one menu item. Here's the list of articles. First Joomla4 article. You can see that it's featured, it's published. You can dive in and take a look at how editing an article looks like now. Pretty straightforward, nothing super dramatic. You can see that we have a little more fun, easy-to-use preview. I really like this. So that is exactly what it looks like on the home page without messing around with the templates and all that. And we also have multiple options. So by default, you're just saving your content. You can also jump into, save and close, save and use, save as copy. So we're trying to have more features available, but not necessarily in the way. So saving would be obviously the default thing to do. Also, just some notifications that are changing. So you can see here, we're just popping those out. Again, this is fully bootstrap for base. So again, trying to keep it all in the future forward thinking mindset for Joomla4. Here we have our increased information screen and help screen, so you can jump to a ton of content. So everything from the official forums to other resources, extensions, everything Slack Exchange, and even the Joomla shop. Some of these things may not exist yet, so overall, it's easier to get started with Joomla.
I know.
We have
but that does 100 pieces for $6.99 sounds very reasonable compared to what I've been seeing.
We're getting someone else's audio that may not want to be heard.
hold on.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm going to mute everybody's mics except for Robert, okay? If you need anything, just send a message.
Is my mic on? Hopefully it's not.
All right. So we have, of course, Joomla.org. That's the great homepage for Joomla. It has a ton of information to get you started. So downloading, using, trying Joomla. Obviously some of this stuff is pretty self-explanatory, but we spent a lot of time working on keeping this updated and useful and friendly as much as possible. We also have demo.joomla.org, which is actually a great way to get a 90-day free Joomla demo account. And you can do literally everything you want with the Joomla site here. So you can install your own custom extensions, your templates, any kind of content, and it's available for 90 days. And this is typically where we see agencies, developers putting together, maybe quick demo sites for potential clients or existing clients, staging some stuff before it goes into production. So it's a great resource to get started with Joomla. We also have Joomla.com, which is probably most analogous to WordPress.com. So it's a quick way to get a Joomla.com site. So you could have anything from NewJersey.joomla.com to whatever subdomain you'd like with Joomla.com. It's a limited set of functionality, so you can't necessarily install any extensions that you want on there. There are some that are sort of default with Joomla.com, but this is free forever, and you can always upgrade and take it to a production level. But again, another very easy way to get your feet wet with using Joomla. Of course, we want to talk about downloads.joomla.org. That's the best place to get the latest version of Joomla at any point in time. Upgrade packages and everything's there. What do you do after you have that? Training. Training.joomla.org is a great repository. It's sponsored by OS Training, but there are a ton of Joomla videos and guides completely free and available to the entire Joomla community. So this is a great resource to figure out everything from security to understanding what kinds of extensions exist, so on and so forth. So I highly recommend taking a look at training.joomla.org. And if you have an awesome site, take it to showcase.joomla.org. Take a look at what other people have been doing and what you can do. So there are a ton of websites there that are Joomla done and ready. I hear that Rutgers might want to show off some of their stuff there soon. We also have forum.joomla.org, which is the forums I was discussing, and that's a great resource for any questions you have. We have forums that are version specific, so if you're sitting on a Joomla 1.x site, there's a forum for that that'll have 1 million posts regarding how to migrate, how to get that going. And after you know all about Joomla, it's even easier to get started building your career with Joomla. So one of the biggest things that we really got going on just over a year ago is Joomla certification. So there's the Joomla Administrator Certification Program at certification.joomla.org. And it is a tough test, and it definitely makes sure that you are certified and know everything about how to manage and administer a Joomla website. These certification exams are on-site exams, usually at some kind of Joomla-specific event, so a Joomla Day Chicago or a Joomla World Conference. And there are also, of course, training resources for that. And more resources. Resources.joomla.org. This is a great way to find out who can help you build a website. And if you're a web developer utilizing Joomla, you should make sure you are on the resources directory. It's quick and easy to get in there, and there's no excuse for not having your firm or agency, if you do Joomla development work in any way, shape, or form, not to be in there. So definitely check out resources.joomla.org if you are developing and building Joomla websites. Of course, our favorite, extensions.joomla.org. This is where we need to get anything that helps us extend and enhance our Joomla websites. We call this simply the JED, but it's the extensions directory. at extensions.joomla.org. And don't forget about your user groups. They're everywhere, pretty much on every continent except Antarctica. And there's usually 1 or 2 or 3 events a month anywhere if you look at it globally. So there's a large amount of Joomla user groups around the world, and they're happy and willing to reach out and talk to you and get you educated, get you motivated and excited about what's going on in the world of Joomla. Again, we have our Joomla World Conference. You can see, oh, that's the old one from Vancouver, but November 17th through 19th, the Joomla World Conference in Rome, Italy this year. So after you know all that, so you know what's going on with Joomla, what all the ways to learn and educate yourself are, now you got to start volunteering and helping with Joomla. So we like to call ourselves Joomlers. And there are a whole bunch of us that help and facilitate and move the project along on a day-to-day basis. You can find out everything you need to know about volunteering and participating in a greater level at Joomla at volunteers.joomla.org. One of the things that happened this year at the beginning of the year is we created a new leadership structure. I'll just go through that relatively quickly because it is maybe new to some people who have known Joomla over the past 12 years. We've split up the board of directors into a number of departments and the legal board of legally required board. Joomla is owned, the copyright and legal, by Open Source Matters, Inc. It's a not-for-profit corporation headquartered in New York City or state. And this is the board that helps run and advise the project on a day-to-day basis. The entire community and organizational structure is made up of department coordinators, teams underneath those departments, and the members that are in those teams. Again, you can see the board of directors and details about all of that at the volunteers.joomla.org. But I'll run through some of the positions that we have. So the production department coordinator is Michael Badker. For legal and finance, Soren Beck Jensen. For marketing communications, Sandra DeCou. For events, Rowan Hoskins Everho. For operations, Peter Martin. For programs, Eve Hopp. And local communities, a department that we're still working on. We're trying to find a way to have local, on a geographic basis, communities have a direct reach out to the board. It's a little complicated, so we're trying to figure that out. And then we have sort of the 4 legal required board members, myself, Robert Jacobi, Vice President Alexander Kuchek, Secretary Luca Marzo, and Treasurer Mike Demo. So all of this, all the subdomain versions of Joomla, all the technology, all the work and all that, like I say, it doesn't mean much unless you understand the heart of Joomla. So within the Joomla logo, you can actually see the heart that sort of binds us all as a community. We are very community first and focused, and we really believe that we are, all Joomlers. Anyone who touches Joomla, from an end user to a designer to a content creator to developer. And we want everyone to be somebody who makes everybody feel like somebody. Our community is really one of the strongest, tightest communities. Friendships and businesses have been grown and created over the many years of people working in Joomla. And I'd like to say that Joomla is you. And we'd like to always thank you. So thank you very much.
Robert, can you hear me?
Yes.
So for Joomla 4.0, we saw the back end, but can you be a little bit more specific on some new things that are coming in? The media manager, I guess the router, anything else that's in the pipeline right now, or you don't know?
So the key features are creating Joomla Framework 2 to support all of this. So that is a ground-up effort. Right now, Joomla 3 is on the Joomla Framework 1 or 1.x. I don't remember the revision number at this point. So a lot of it is making sure that the functionality that we expect is replicated, but much more efficient and secure and future-facing. And the big sort of things that administrators, integrators can take sort of home with them is the updated routers. So the current router 3.8 is usable, but it is sort of, let's call it beta-esque. Some people may have problems with it, some won't. But you can use it in 4.0. That'll be the default mechanism and the correct way to route pages throughout your website. Media Manager is getting the biggest bunch of updates to facilitate more editing within the manager of images, all the drag and drop functionality. The front end and back end templates have been updated, obviously. At least the back end one, front end one's still work in progress. We have a long time to go with. We still have about, as we look at it, about a year go out before we announce a 4.0 production release, and in that span there's a lot of work going on. More security features, there'll be some additional workflow options made available, but as the team sort of pivots back and forth between features and stability, right now it's sort of in a stability mode to make sure that the new framework is as solid as possible. There's a lot you can look at regarding the reasoning for some of the PHP 7 work we've done, some of that technical languages even over my head, and that's you can take a look at that at developer.joomla.org.
Okay, another question, and I'm going to send this via message as well. Will there be a new, kind of like the Bees template, like a simple core template that you'll be using the front end with 4.0, or will you be basing it off of what we currently have and making that more robust?
There is a new template, and it is called, I'll tell you one second the exact name of it. Joomla4 templates. So there'll be at least one template, and the new one being built out is called Aurora.
What is it?
Aurora, A-U-R-O-R-A.
Does that exist anywhere yet?
Only in the development Git repository.
So if we were thinking of creating a new template layout for 100-something sites while in Joomla 3.8, and we wanted to base it off of something that kind of existed in Joomla without using any of the frameworks and gantry and all that, and just using core Joomla, would you recommend we wait until the Aurora is usable, or?
Yes, I would wait until at least the first alpha.
What is the hope for that?
Shifting open source projects. I'm not going to hold the development team to any of this, but let's say that probably about 4 to 5 months.
Okay.
So probably right at the beginning of the new year.
Okay. And that's going to be completely responsive with Bootstrap?
Correct.
Okay. And Olivier has a question. When do you think J4 will be stable enough to start modifying extensions to be compatible with it?
My developer side says always wait till at least the first alpha, but you can start looking at the sort of 4.0 compatibility layer in 3.8 right now, and those functions are going to be solid because we've already committed to them in 3.8. So any of that that's already in 3.8 as part of the compatibility layer will definitely be in 4.
Does anyone else have other questions? About Foro, about Joomla?
Joomla World Conference.
Joomla World Conference, it's in Italy, by the way. I'll be going. I hope to see you all there. Do you have any questions? Robert, with the new router, which changes the URLs, are people having difficulties with it? Are you finding groups are using it and very happy with it? You know, because once you turn it on, it changes the URLs to no longer have the article ID. Is that correct?
That is correct. I think people who have a lot of existing content right now should not go near the new router until, especially if they're worried about any kind of SEO. Even though theoretically all the article IDs should be ignored, I recommend being conservative on that, especially if you're worried about SEO. If SEO is not the greatest concern, say you're on an intranet and you want to clean all that up using your new router, you should be fine unless you have extensions that depend on sort of the old way of the router working. So you're always going to want to test that. For example, sites from scratch right now, we look at building with the new router, just because that's going to save us headache going forward.
So a site that already exists, if they're referencing, let's say in a link, a URL without the router, you know, it has 135 dash the article name, but you turn the new router on, will those links then break? Or is Joomla smart enough to just ignore it? That's what you said, it just ignores the article ID and goes to the right place?
Well, SEO will ignore the article ID. I was thinking about just how Google tries to look at that. I couldn't answer that question at the moment. I have to ask someone on the tech side of that.
Okay.
Certainly, if you have some, my guess is that's going to fail. And in fact, I take that back. I know it does absolutely fail. So if you have external links pointing to 123- content, those will fail.
Is that something in 3.9 that you'll be able to do something so it won't fail?
That's a very good question.
I
could not tell you that at the moment. It's a very good question. And that's why we sort of say, the new router should be, used at your own risk at the moment. It's not really something that we want to extend out to existing sites. Again, with the new site, I personally see no problem using the new router. With existing sites, I think that can be quite a headache.
Okay. Ellen's question. I don't understand the router. If you have your configuration set to SE-friendly URLs with URL rewriting, is this effective?
Yes, because even SEF with rewriting will add in the article ID. So you'll see, a
Maybe,
site.
Can you bring up a site, Robert?
That's exactly way ahead of you.
Great.
So let's take a look here. So I could find Safari. What are you hiding? So let's go. I don't know what I'm sharing here, so I don't know how to change my screen share there.
So I think you just need to change what screen you're sharing.
Oh, I just don't know what button that was. There we go. Okay. I'm trying to find the best example of that. One moment. Actually, depending on how you have rewriting set, you might be fine. I'm the site that I was expecting to see it on, I'm not seeing it. So actually rewriting it should solve that problem. So this is more out of the box to obfuscate that. So you should be fine.
We're not seeing yet. We're still seeing your presentation.
Oh, correct. I haven't found a good example yet of it failing at the moment when you use SCF rewrites.
Even if you show it with it on, I think that might help because I've seen it with it on. That may give Ellen an idea. Ellen, basically the article ID gets taken out of the URL link. Even SCF friendly URLs still put that article ID number in the link.
Huh.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not finding a good, yeah, and Ellen's right, because the ones I've been looking at I can't find, and and usually you'll see it in the blogs or news areas of articles. But no, I think with proper SCF you might be fine. Yeah, that's the good example, but you have, yeah. So Olivier just showed an example of an instance of how that would look. But to Ellen's point, when you're running the SCF friendly tag and you've enabled mod rewrite in Apache, that usually gets pulled out. But fundamentally, you still have those links in there, and what happens is that when you generate maybe lists of content articles, so if you have links that go to category and lists all those blog posts, you'll still see sometimes them popping up. So the whole goal is to make it fundamentally not necessary to ever have those article IDs or content IDs ever again in Joomla.
Okay. Ellen, does that help? So if you have article lists, that could still be generating with the article ID numbers. And Olivier, your instance that you put in there, so Olivier gave an example of 3776 related articles feature, for example. I have a question for Olivier. Actually, I'm going to unmute you, Olivier, so I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, I'm on.
You unmuted yourself. Thank you. So, Olivier, in your tool that you used for Latest News Enhanced, where you're listing articles, does it work well with the new router? Have you tried it?
Yeah, because I'm using the article router, so whatever links you have in the module, it becomes the new router link. Because I'm using the article router.
You're not seeing a break.
No. Well, no, but like Robert said, you should do it only if you do a new website. If you work on an older one, you may break some links, and you will break your SEO.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from anybody? I don't think so. No more questions?
I mean, if people are adventurous and have the time to play, it's very simple to go and get the latest development release. Again, don't be building anything out on it, but if you head over to github.com/Joomla, you can see we have a number of projects and everything. and then jump into the Joomla-CMS repository. The thing you're going to want to do is check which branch you're in. So you'll see there's a 3.9 development, 4.0 development, and the existing 3.8 staging. So you're going to want to go into the 4.0 development. And at that point, you can go ahead and just download the zip and put it into any web directory, set up a database as you normally would, and run the install process, and you can see it. I'd recommend this not anywhere besides maybe a local MAMP or a private directory, because it's raw development stuff. Even though it's been worked on for approximately a year already, there may be security issues and things that you definitely won't want to be running it off your public domain where it might impact your other domains. But certainly running it on MAMP is trivial.
Have you gotten any updates on when 3.8.2 is coming out, or are we going to just go straight to 3.9?
There will probably be a 3.8.2. I couldn't tell you what's in the pipeline at the moment. We can see the 3.8.1 release candidates and releases. Let's see if anything's tagged 3.8.2 yet. Nothing yet for 3.2, but that'll probably be.
Yes, I've seen a 3.8.2.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, there's one existing. When you go to dev, the dev
But that's
website.
still in development mode, not for downloading yet.
Correct.
No.
One last question. Any anticipation for 3.9 as far as timeline?
3.9, with the conference and the holidays, more holidays, upon us, I wouldn't expect 3.9 until the beginning of next year, unless there's something critical. But again, a lot of it's going to be just updating the compatibility layer as well. We want to have as much of that in place as possible, so that as websites update to 3.9, that migrating to 4.0 becomes as easy as possible.
We have another question from Ellen. So if you have a menu item for articles, when listed in a category list, it goes to the menu item without the ID. But I think your example is if you have an article list in a module, or if you create a link to an article via your article itself and you highlight it and create a link, that may put the ID in there. Is that correct?
That for sure. And any hard-coded links will get, won't be able to be managed properly.
Can I say something?
Please.
Yeah, I think she meant that when you have a new menu item, it actually overrides the URL that goes to the article. That's what it is about, I think. When you create a menu item to an article, you only get the link to the menu item. You don't get the link to the article anymore. That makes sense?
Yeah, but if you have an article list menu item, and then you click on one of those articles, what's the URL that's generated? So the menu item initially, yes, it won't have the numbers in it, but if you have an article list.
Okay, then we go back to the regular router output.
Correct.
Right. Any other questions?
Yeah, certainly don't want to encourage people with a lot of content switching on the new router without thorough testing.
Anyone else with any questions?
Yeah, I put the link. I put the link to the nightly build so that you can see that there is a 3.2, 8.2 coming up.
What, Olivier, you were just saying about 3.8.2?
Yeah, I put in the message box. I put the link to the nightly builds page, and when you go there, you can see there's a 3.8.2 on the works in the works.
Yes, these packages are being
probably coming out.
built.
So I suspect there's going to be 8.2.
Oh. Yeah, you see that?
But I mean, these you definitely don't want to install them.
Yeah, not for any production use. Absolutely.
No.
Yeah, definitely heed the warning. This warning is real. I'm gonna keep flashing it. That is no joke. But certainly, if you have a staging environment that you need to, that's off from the regular development workflow, you can start testing any versions of Joomla you like. Again, 4.0 is available as a development build right now.
Any other questions from anyone? I apologize that the online meeting ID changed on me when I started the meeting. I'm not sure why that happened, but as long as we all found each other somehow. So thank you for your patience with that. I did record the meeting. It may be in 2 segments because in the middle I got nervous that I forgot to record it, but it was recording. So I will put a link to that on the wall and through the meetup should anyone want it. And I appreciate, Robert, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you, everyone.
And for meeting with us. And if everyone that attended, if you could just send me an email or a note of what you would like to talk about next. Probably not until January, probably after the holidays. If there's something important that you want to bring up about anything, let me know and we'll work on getting the right speaker to help us out with it. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll close there. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
All right, have a great
Have
day.
a great week, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you. You too. Let's the meeting.